Hey guys, Vass here from Aussie Playground, and welcome to another episode of RC Pit Stop. Today we are in the pits with the Tower Hobbies Cutback, and if you guys have been following the channel and watching some of the videos that I've been posting up of this truck, you know that it hasn't been the best performing truck out of the box. In fact, it's among the worst ones that I've ever owned. So it does need a little bit of tweaking, I think, to kind of uncover what is hidden underneath what is otherwise a mess. So I'm hoping that with some minimal expenses and just a bit of tuning, we might actually get a decent truck out of this. Now, one of the issues with this truck is its lack of speed. It's incredibly slow. It feels like it's as slow as a brushed version of any SCT that is probably available out there. And what I've been reading on, and a couple of people I think have commented on my videos as well, is that once you install the optional spur gear, which is actually a 54 tooth that you can see here, hopefully the camera will focus in on that. This is a 54 tooth spur. I believe that what's in the truck is actually a 62 tooth, so it's a significant difference. And once you install this spur, the truck actually becomes a little bit more lively, it becomes a little bit more enjoyable to drive, and yeah, I'm hoping that maybe that could be the first step in really making this truck worthwhile owning. Now, I'll quickly remove this body and show you the truck here, because there is another thing that I'm going to change on today's episode, and that is I'm going to switch this ESC from here and I'm going to put it on top of this receiver box back here. The ESC has got a couple of mounting holes that I'm hoping you can see there. There's one on that side and there's another one on this side, and I'm hoping that this box is actually wide enough to catch those two holes, and I can bolt it down here and hopefully switch a little bit of weight onto the rear of the truck to try and avoid the constant nosediving that it seems to enjoy. So that's one of the issues that I'm going to address as well, and of course changing out the spur gear. Another thing that I'm going to be doing, not on today's episode but later on down the line, I'm also going to be doubling up on this rear shock tower, because I've already bent it once, and I've got a new one of these coming in. I'm going to put two of them you know, back to back here, get some longer hardware, put everything back on. Hopefully that will again add a little bit more weight to the rear of the truck, and maybe, you know, have some sort of influence on that nosediving and reduce it somewhat. Of course, I do have to get a new bumper as well, so I've got a new bumper coming in for the truck, and I know that you can get free plastic parts with the Tower Hobbies warranty, but unfortunately Tower Hobbies expect you to send the parts back, and me being in Australia, well, that's not really a beneficial thing to do, because the money that I would spend on shipping it back, I may as well just get myself a new one. So it doesn't really make a lot of sense to me to ship these parts back. And to be honest, I had to order a few other things as well. It was a $50 order. You know, it cost me like $3 to ship it over. Plus I had like a $10 discount as well for being a member, and it kind of all comes out in the wash. It really doesn't owe me anything anyway. The shocks have been terrible. When I took the truck out of the box, you guys may have noticed that it was very underdampened. It was very bouncy. What was actually happening is two of these shocks had actually had the securing nut. There's a little nut on top of the shock shaft that holds the piston in place, and that nut had actually come off. And two of these shocks actually fell apart in my hands as I was removing them from the truck. So the shock shaft actually came out from the bottom of the shock. The bottom cap of the shock on all four shocks was very poorly screwed in. In fact, I think one or two of them had actually a gap there. It wasn't even screwed in properly. So I had to fix that. I used a little bit of Loctite to secure it in place. Hopefully that solves that problem. But the shocks themselves aren't very good quality. They do work okay. I used 40 weight oil when I rebuilt them, but to be quite honest, I probably should have used 30 weight. It does feel a little bit stiff as it is, but it's not bad. It is very much drivable and it works quite well. I also had this outdrive cup come out on me. It fell out in my hands while I had the truck, and I had the truck here at home, and I was just testing a couple of things, and yeah, it just completely came out. These two outdrive cups are held inside what I think is the world's smallest center diff on a short course truck. This diff, once I take this out, I'll show you, it's very, very tiny. They're held in place with just some E-clips, and obviously the E-clip had stretched, and yeah, the outdrive cup had fallen out. So I think I've done enough talking and introduction into this truck, and I've also given you a little bit of a preview to a review. So let's start cracking this diff open, because I do want to get this done and possibly do another speed test for with this truck sometime down the line for another RC Speed Week series of episodes. So we'll quickly take these screws off. All right, so there's our center diff, and you can see just how tiny that is. It is definitely one of the smallest ones that I've seen. There's a little bump stop inside these outdrive cups. Well, actually one of them anyway. Make sure you hold on to that because you will need it, otherwise your center drive shaft may actually fall out. So now we need to unscrew this. Now when I pulled this diff apart initially to fix the outdrive cup, I actually filled it up with 100,000 weight diff oil because there was no oil inside the diff, and it seems to, you know, it feels a little bit better. Definitely, you know, going for an oil filled diff rather than a diff filled with a bit of grease is definitely a better option. But it is disappointing to see just how poorly built some of these components are, like your shocks and your diff. It is a little bit disappointing to see that on a $300 truck. I think Tao Hobbies or whoever makes this truck could have done a lot better than that. But hey, that's just my opinion. You may hold a different view. All right, so there's our oil. There was a little bit of grease in there when I did fill it up, so it's a little bit of a milkshake, but it still does the job. It's no problem. I'll just pop this guy aside and out of the way so I don't spill anything. Now, of course, to get rid of this spur, I am going to have to clean this up a little bit and take out that E-clip that's hidden underneath the oil there, and then get rid of the gear, pull out the drive cup, and put everything back into the new spur. Alright, so I've kind of jumped ahead a little bit here. Whilst I was about to put the center diff back into the truck, I realised that my center drive shafts were out of the way, and it was a good idea for me to take the ESC out of its original position and move it back to where the receiver box is, because yeah, I don't have the drive shafts interfering with anything. I did have to take out this center brace just to kind of lift it up a bit to unscrew my servo, both from the top and the bottom, because the wire for the ESC actually goes through a little slot here where the servo cable comes out of. And then of course there's a little tiny kind of slot where the cables, both the ESC and servo wire, kind of feed through this side channel and then feed into the receiver box. But now that I'm going to have my ESC up here, I don't want the cable to go all the way from over there and then come back out. So what I've done is I've just cut a tiny little slot on the plastic just over this side. Hopefully you guys will be able to see that on camera. And my ESC cable will actually come out of that, mount on top of the receiver box, and will be good as gold. Now, as I had estimated, the ESC will actually fit very nicely. These mounting holes that the ESC has got, hoping you guys might be able to see that, they're actually a very snug fit right on top of the receiver box. It bolts straight on. It shouldn't be a problem at all bolting this guy on. Once I've got it all done, I'll bring it up nice and close to the camera for you so you guys can have a look. But I'm going to basically put this guy back together now and then come back with the finished product. Alright, so there we go, all finished. Everything is back together and ready to go. So you can see how I've mounted my ESC straight onto the receiver box. The ESC just fits on there, so it's no problem at all. I've actually mounted it forward just a little bit so I can still have access to that screw there, and obviously to the back screws that hold the cover in place. This little capacitor has actually, I've zip tied it to the body post that you see back here, which I believe, there's another one at the front there. This may be kind of a chassis from a buggy, a 1/8 scale buggy of some sort perhaps, I'm not entirely sure. But that little post there has actually come in handy. I've zip tied that capacitor in there. My cables are all kind of fairly neat, and you know, the wire for the ESC kind of goes into the little channel that I or the little slot there that I made inside that channel, so everything is good to go. Everything's very empty at the front here. I also removed this little guide that was here for the ESC plug. No need for that to be there anymore, so I've taken that out, and it's also, you know, a gram or two that I've taken off from the front end, which is a bit of a shame to have to do this. I mean, if this does actually work and stop some of the nose diving, all of that I said about how manufacturers are being really clever about routing the wires for your ESC and your battery and everything, that's all gone to waste, because obviously now none of these channels, none of these things are being used. Everything, you know, all my wires and everything is back here. But hopefully, you know, the few extra grams that this guy weighs, maybe doubling up on the rear shock tower will help as well, and yeah, possibly change, stop or prevent some of the nose diving that the truck has got. But I think I'm going to leave it here. I'm going to run the stock pinion with that 54 tooth spur gear. I'm going to see how the truck performs, what sort of speed I can get out of it. I'm going to check temps. I have heard of people going up in pinion size and still the motor was okay, but I'm going to do my own testing, and hopefully everything is all right. If it is, I have a pinion here, which I think these are 32 pitch gears. This is a 17 tooth, which I have as a spare from my Traxxas Stampede 4x4. So I don't use this pinion, probably going to fit straight in there. It is quite a significant size difference between this one and the stock one, but I want to try and avoid having to spend money on pinions for this truck, so we'll see how we go. I'll keep you guys posted, but for now, that is the end of this episode, guys. Thank you very much for watching. If you liked it, please be sure to hit the like button before you go. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and please check the video description for more information on this truck, as well as a link to my Facebook page, which of course will keep you a couple of steps ahead of what goes on here on YouTube. Thank you all very much for watching, and I will speak to you next time.